No? Okay. If you're good at music, you listen to this, okay? So it's C, I have A minor, F, and G. Or I could do it C, G, A minor, F. Don't know How play same songs can? Okay, let's play I'm Yours. Then I might get off and stop playing embarrassing tunes. And so, I hope you got your Thursday's entertainment and maybe you will see me someday soon. I travel a lot, like most of you here. By traveling, I mean from home to school, from school to home. And I see a lot of people on the buses and the MRTs. Sometimes I see small children, and they're wide-eyed, wondering. Sometimes they're laughing or crying really loudly. But most of the time, they look really alive. And I look at people like us here, and sometimes we look sad or we look tired. And once I counted, in a train cabin of 20 of us there, 14 of us had our iPhones out, all plugged into our technological devices, and our eyes and our ears were shut off from what was around us. So when I see this, sometimes I do feel a bit sad, and I think, what are we doing with the communities around us? You know, we do complain sometimes that the trains are very packed, and we find ourselves shoulder to shoulder next to someone else. When it gets really crowded, it becomes like cheek to cheek. So these are best opportunities to reach out and connect to whoever's next to us. But the thing is, we don't really. And so I thought, is there something that I could do about this? When I was on exchange in the States, I was in New York on a subway, and a busker walked through, and she started singing. And in that moment, she opened her mouth and started playing her instruments. What happened was the cabin transformed into a shared performance space. Everyone just woke up for a bit and we know what's going on. And in that moment, I felt a sense of connection. When I came back to Singapore, I met a girl who sang on the MRT. And I put these two events together, and I got inspired to start playing music in public buses and on public trains. So that's how all of this happened. And the video that you just saw, that's a result of this. One day in NUS, I boarded an A2 shuttle bus. And that day was special because I decided before stepping on the bus, okay, that's it, I'm going to play a song. And what usually happens is I go on and I get really, really nervous inside, and I have to take a deep breath before I start playing. But that day, when I went on, there were two girls standing next to me, and the bus was really crowded. So they saw me unzipping my ukulele case really quite nervously, and they just turned to me and they said, I can play something. And I said, yeah, I will play if you sing along. And to my surprise, they said, yeah, if you play, we'll sing along. So I did. And that kind of set the whole tone for the bus, and it just launched into the most magical guerrilla performance that I ever had in my life. So halfway through, as you all know, someone whipped up his iPhone and took what seemed like an innocuous video. And before any of us knew what was happening, the views started coming in, like 2,000, 5,000, 10,000. And then, which is why I'm here today. What happened afterwards? Well, lots of likes, friends started sharing the video on Facebook, and mostly, what amazed me was the comments I got from strangers who didn't know me beforehand. People started saying thank you, and I didn't know why until they said, oh, thank you for debunking the myth that all NUS students are apathetic, or that all Singaporeans are cynical. So that amazed me. I was going to share about my favorite comments, and I was trawling through the comments trying to pick something up to share today. And by far, the coolest comment ever, and you're going to love this, is, it's probably a robot that was planted in the bus to pretend to be happy and make music. No, But really, my favorite comment was one that said, "We don't need more people like her, we need to be like her." And that comment made me feel grateful and also inspired, because stepping up to sing that song was an act of courage for me. And I didn't know where it would lead, but my thought was that if I did it, perhaps the next person who wants to reach out in that same way will be able to have an easier time doing it. And if it set off a chain, if we could make it more acceptable to be expressing ourselves in public, then perhaps I would be able to see the kind of Singapore that I imagine in my head. When we step out of our houses, of our doors, into the void decks, into the trains, just outside, we are stepping into shared spaces, and these shared spaces are owned spaces, and they're owned by us. We can't go out and, sell what is our grandfather's road, or try to set up a corner and do funny things with it. But what we can do is take ownership of spaces around us and the relationships that we have with the people around us. So sitting here in the audience is a stranger that I met because of the video, or the one who took the video, and I'm very glad that he's here today. And what I want to say is that we're all strangers, but what are strangers but friends that we haven't met yet? So stepping out of my comfort zone has opened me up as a person and has opened me up to a new kind of Singapore with the new kinds of people that I've met. So thank you for waking me up to a new community. Okay.